The President of the Republic, Paul Biya, receives the British Minister for Africa at the Foreign Office, James Doddridge. Bilateral relations and the supply of COVID-19 vaccines to Cameroon are discussed. Commuters of the Bamenda-Babaju stretch linking the northwest and west regions heave a sigh of relief. The interruption in circulation due to damage caused by torrential rains is restored as government commits to hasten construction works. The indomitable lions of Cameroon clash against the Blue Sharks of Cape Verde tomorrow in a Day 5 action of the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations. The team has a reconnaissance training session today in Praia. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Those were the headlines of the 7:30 News.
I urge you once again to put on your face masks, to wash your hands regularly, and to consult a physician or any other health personnel if you notice any symptoms. This is the only way to save lives and to curb the spread of the virus.
Good evening and thanks for joining us once again. President Paul Biya has granted audience to the British Minister for Africa at the Foreign Office, James Doddridge. The wide range of bilateral issues discussed by the head of state and his guest include the supply of COVID-19 vaccines to Cameroon. Chief Unity Palace correspondent Ashu Nienti reports.
Britain and Cameroon have a long history traced back to the English-speaking regions of this country. It is in this context of great friends that the British Minister for Africa at the Foreign Office, James Doddridge, is received this 25th of March 2021 at the Unity Palace, first by the Chief of State Protocol and then the Minister, Director of the Civil Cabinet. Accompanied by the British High Commissioner, he would undergo the compulsory COVID-19 protocol before he gets to meet the head of state.
Monsieur James Doddridge, ministre pour l'Afrique au ministère britannique des Affaires étrangères.
For close to 1 hour and 30 minutes, Paul Biya, the British envoy, go through a long list of talking points.
We discussed the situation in Cameroon, commercial opportunities in Cameroon, the contributions British business make. To mention one company, Guinness, they employ 400 people in their factory, but 15,000 people in associated industries, farmers and distributors. So a great force of British business in Cameroon. We discussed environmental issues and, of course, the issue of the day, COVID, COVAX. The contribution the UK makes, £584 million into COVAX. Which will help bring vaccinations around the world to the developing world. In fact, vaccinations should be arriving in Cameroon this month.
Britain may not have been too present in the economy of Cameroon, but the country of Queen Elizabeth II is determined to remedy the situation.
And he was also keen to find out more about problems and help resolve problems of businesses that are already here so they can invest further, which will create more jobs and pay more tax. Crucially, it's all very fine to talk about the £50 million of aid money that the British government spend, but aid is short-term. The real future is companies making money, paying large amounts of tax, and politicians spending that tax on the education system, on the health system, and being held to account by the public.
Coming from a country whose people have an eye for the fine detail, James Doddridge wouldn't fail to leave a dose of British humour with a remark on the Unity Palace.
A glorious palace. I also enjoyed my meetings under Mount Cameroon. Occasionally the weather has been kinder on the trees and the greenery than it has been on me, but I think I've seen Cameroon in a sunny state, in a rainy state, but the palace is a wonderful place, and when I come back perhaps I'll get a chance to see more.
The British diplomat would then have a last-minute cross-check with President Biya's closest collaborators before taking his leave with the blessings of Yaoundé's torrential rainfall.
Away from the Unity Palace, traffic circulation perturbed in the Babaju-Bamenda Road due to torrential rains, and at the Douala-Bonepupa-Yabasi stretch, where a culvert gave way, has resumed. The Minister of Public Works, Emmanuel Nganu-Jumesi, announced the resumption of activity during a press briefing today in Yaoundé. He also reassured that construction work on the Babaju-Bamenda Road that was halted will begin after the rains. Ewane Pole reports.
Heavy rains experienced on the night of Wednesday 24th, breaking Thursday the 25th of March 2021, destroyed some major roads in the country, interrupting traffic along the Douala-Bonepupa-Yabasi and the Babaju-Bamenda roads under construction. Prompt measures were taken by the Minister of Public Works by dispatching a team on the field.
The traffic between Babaju and Bamenda has been reestablished. My appeal is that when it's raining, the transporter should stop even 2 hours after the rains. Bonepupa-Yabasi section, they mobilized themselves at 8:30 this morning.
As for the Babaju-Bamenda Road, which construction work has been interrupted since January 2021 because of the socio-political crisis in the region, during the press conference, the minister reassured the public that work will soon resume on the road.
We have identified already some national company who are able to construct road. My appeal is that we should organize ourselves in order to avoid any other criminal act that can prompt a company to stop the work.
The intensity of rain since last year have been putting an unusual pressure on road infrastructure in the country.
The rehabilitation of urban roads in the city of Bamenda is well on course, although city council officials admit they might be temporarily suspended due to heavy downpour. The city mayor, Paul Achobong, reassures the population that it is an adequate move to guarantee qualitative work. Kilo Valerie Nsala reports.
The World Bank-sponsored project in Bamenda concerns 12 kilometers. The contract was initially awarded to Soldier Satom. In 2018, its equipment were destroyed by suspected separatist fighters along the Santa Bamenda Road, prompting the Ministry of Public Works to assign a local company, Edge, to perform the task that has been modified.
What Edge is proposing now is a road bigger than that was validated for Saturn.
Works in town are unfolding under the anticipated service order by the Ministry of Public Works, meaning construction is authorized while contract details are being finalized.
We've deployed 2 of our technical staff from the Urban Development Sector Department and 2 from the Director of Technical Service to follow up the execution of the works.
The rainy season in Bamenda might hamper current road works.
If the rains become so severe and so serious, we'll be left with no option but to stop work.
The population highly awaits the completion of the Bamenda Road project.
And the inhabitants of the Northwest region are undoubtedly elated at the rehabilitation of road infrastructure in the area. That notwithstanding, they deplore the heavy traffic, especially around the petrol station leading to the Mile 1 junction. They hope to see the construction process hastened in the near future. Julius Niba tells us more.
Standing at the monument, one could see a plethora of cars at both sides of the road from Custom Junction and from Mile 1. Given the narrow and slippery nature of the one lane that was made available for cars and pedestrians, some drivers even found themselves getting into accidents as they endeavored to drive through. Frustrated, some vehicle owners and passengers alighted from their cars and merged in small discussion groups where I could hear them express their discontent with the eyesore nature of the road leading to Bamenda.
From Bafoussam to here is a hell. To get to Bamenda in less than an hour, we spent 3 hours on the way.
Going to Bacham for a wedding, but it's indicating that maybe we will not even go again.
Now that they are constructing the bridge in the rainy season, it's not good for us because only one way to enter Bamenda town.
City Mayor Paul Achobong, however, assured users that the contractors are giving their best and will ensure the road is passable, rain or no rain.
Over in the littoral region, scores of persons residents in Gongsamba in Mongo Division are now homeless after heavy rains and flash floods destroyed their homes. Administrative and municipal authorities have been to the site to evaluate the damage and to assist the distressed families. Ewana Epole has the details.
The heavy rains which poured on the town of Gongsamba this Wednesday, March 24, 2021, flooded the main streets and popular neighborhoods, destroying houses and displacing hundreds of people now homeless. Alerted on the situation, the administrative and municipal authorities were on hand to evaluate the damage caused by the floods. No human loss has been recorded. A crisis meeting chaired by the senior divisional officer of Mongo Division took place this Thursday to seek ways of giving humanitarian assistance to the homeless and the reconstruction of properties destroyed.
On to other news, the Interministerial Committee meeting on government response strategy on the COVID-19 pandemic has examined the epidemiological situation in the country. Chaired by Prime Minister Joseph John Gute, the session also focused on the spread of the virus in the penitentiary, especially in prisons. Charles Ibune has details from the Star Building.
The latest Interministerial Committee meeting on government's response strategy to tame the destructive tentacles of the coronavirus pandemic holds at a time when the backlash on vaccination over vaccines is yet to be over globally.
Until now, we don't know how many vaccine we can get, because we just preparing our country.
Apart from the health minister, who outlined the current epidemiological outlook of the pandemic in the country, the Minister of State for Justice presented the clearer picture of the situation in the penitentiary administration. Measures are being taken to avoid the spread of the pandemic. To all the speakers, including the Central Regional Governor who briefed the audience of the disease prevalence in his administrative area of command, the Prime Minister once more instructed them to continue tenaciously the campaign on the respect for barrier measures and gestures.
We have a cumulative rate of over 18,000 people have been tested positive.
Joseph Diongute tasked the government, especially the health ministry, for the public to be served the best contextually correct scientific information on COVID-19 in this country.
And the contribution of African traditional medicine in the fight against COVID-19 has been discussed at a workshop organized by the Catholic University of Central Africa. Experts stressed the need for continuous sensitization and responsible behavior, particularly in schools. Romeo Nkenyi tells us more.
The second wave of COVID-19 has been preoccupying. African pharmacopoeia has been proving its efficiency in the battle. But more efforts are needed for a complete eradication of the pandemic. It is within this backdrop that the exchange at the Catholic University for Central Africa is holding.
As a Catholic university, we have to think about the management of this crisis. And the solution is that by acting in the field of economy, in the field of relationships, we have to think how to survive. It can be a small contribution, but thinking is important.
Experts opined continuous sensitization in schools is a great step in keeping the virus at bay. The discussions are expected to result in a better understanding of the context and the contribution of all to adequately address the situation.
A news from Parliament, Cameroon and Tunisia are poised to expand parliamentary diplomacy for mutual development. This is the substance of the audience granted the Tunisian ambassador to Cameroon, His Excellency Karim Ben Bashir, today by the House Speaker, the Right Honourable Kavaege Jibril. Charles Ibune reports.
A few days from now, some Cameroonian parliamentarians will travel to Tunisia to extend the parliamentary friendship bond between Cameroon and Tunisia.
We have discussed about the principal ways to foster the cooperation between Tunisia and Cameroon.
At the cabinet of the House Speaker, the audience granted the Tunisian ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary to Cameroon, Bakava Yege Jibril, also explored other areas of cooperation between Cameroon and the North African country.
I received from His Excellency very appreciated advices about how it is possible to make the cooperation in this field stronger.
Cameroon and Tunisia are two La Francophonie member states, and a half-a-century anniversary of the organization will take place in Tunisia this year with the support of Cameroon.
The World Bank have agreed to address the obstacles hindering the smooth execution of some projects funded by the institution nationwide. This was the outcome of a meeting during which the cooperation portfolio came under review. Clarice Arita can witness the event and now reports.
20 projects in diverse sectors: rural development, health, education, governance and infrastructure, to name but these, instrumental for Cameroon's growth and which, with the financial backing of the World Bank, are at different levels of execution. They were reviewed during the meeting between officials of the economy and those of the World Bank. The cooperation portfolio amounts to some 927 billion CFA francs, a majority in concessional loans.
This low disbursement rate will lead to financial means available but not invested in the economy, which is certainly not what we want. I want to recommend that our coordinators certainly look into matters like mastering the annual plan and budgetary, mastering the maturation of projects.
The prevailing socio-economic atmosphere resulting from the health pandemic has pressured government to focus on priority areas. The state is thus counting on the input of development partners to meet growth targets.
In education, owners of private primary and secondary schools in the East, South and Centre regions have been drilled on techniques to properly manage subventions given them by the state. This was during a one-day seminar organized by the Ministry of Finance and opened by the Inspector General of Services at the Ministry of Secondary Education, ACAD Eta Fidelis. Emphasis was laid on methods of establishing accounts, with a warning sounded against the siphoning of state funds. And now on to our investigative report. Tonight we plunge into what most parents and guardians in Yaoundé describe as an exploitative tendency of some owners of private primary and secondary schools. Although they appreciate the quality of education dispensed, the appeal is for government to ensure a proper follow-up of subventions given to these schools. Prince Will Mukwele Aduma reports.
Running a private venture, receiving financial aid at the same time, good business it seems for private school establishments in Yaoundé. But
asked me to pay 5,000 for graduations for class nursery 2. That's an example.
The support of the state is very important for us because it helps us to assure the payment of the salaries.
Hard to comprehend this after such appreciation of government subvention.
Infrastructure, water facilities, computer lab facilities, laboratory facilities are always a very important necessity. And so when we receive subventions, we invest the money in those areas.
It is not possible for us to ask some parents to pay always to pay extra money.
Even with this, the burden of the same parents is not made easy by this support from government.
They are too demanding. You pay your school fees, 2 to 3, they will come, they will call you parents, there's money for graduation, you need to pay, there's money for excursion. In short, they just have too much bills, so their bills are never finished.
At a seminar on accountability in Yaoundé, proprietors of schools were warned against diverting public funds.
If there is a means for the government to intervene, it will be better.
Only judicious management, they were told, will keep subvention coming.
And now on to the wave of installations in the police corps. 57-year-old Commissioner of Police, Nga Didier, has been officially commissioned into office as the new Center Regional Delegate for National Security with instructions to roll back urban disorder and to fight banditry. He was installed today in Yaoundé by the Delegate General for National Security, Martin Bangangele. Kilian Dandifon has the details.
Yaoundé City Council Thursday, May 25. Top police officials and some regional administrative authorities, with the Delegate General for National Security, Martin Bangangele, taking the lead to officially install the newly appointed Central Regional Delegate for National Security. Police Commissioner Nga Didier was appointed by presidential decree on March 18. He has served in public security, law and order, judicial police, frontier police, and deputy Central Regional Police Delegate since 2015. The police boss instructed him to ensure public order, pull back urban disorder, banditry, fight terrorist acts, and protect people and their property, as well as cause for the respect of public institutions, especially in the political capital. The 57-year-old Central Regional Police Delegate has been advised to continue to work with loyalty and professionalism. And after the commissioning ceremony, he went straight to install appointees under his jurisdiction, among them the Director of Immigration, Commissioner of Police Isabel Fuda. The appointed officials have been enjoined to revitalize and mobilize all segments of the police for better performance.
Despite our efforts, COVID-19 plunged many families into mourning and seriously hampered the functioning of our economy and society.
At 7:52 tonight, we talk about the caliber of results issued when a screening for COVID-19 is carried out in the country. It is either positive, negative, or doubtful. And in the case where it is doubtful, the public is at a loss about their status and wonder how to interact with the population. Baldwin Sama and his guest, Dr. Eric Tandy, clarify on who can be considered a doubtful COVID-19 case. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Esther Kima. At times when persons get screened for COVID-19, they are either positive, negative, or they receive a result that says they are a doubtful case. What exactly is a doubtful case? Getting screened for COVID-19, let us discuss that with Dr. Eric Tandy, our guest tonight. Good evening to you, Doctor. Yeah, good evening, Baldwin. When somebody gets screened for COVID-19, he or she receives a result that he or she is a doubtful case. What does that mean?
Yeah, Baldwin, it's good that we should be very clear here that once it comes to diagnosis in the laboratory, as far as COVID-19 is concerned, there are three situations to observe. The first one is either you are declared positive, and the second, you are either negative, and the third one, it might come that the sample was not well collected and your results come as indeterminate. Here they have to do a recollection and the test repeated for you to have a clear result that will not be indeterminate or doubtful.
Meaning therefore that, okay, if somebody has a doubtful case as a result, he must be screened again to have either positive or negative.
Yes, for somebody to be clear up from the laboratory with certainty, you must have either positive or a negative case. Once it's doubtful, the sample has to be collected and redone again.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eric Tandy, for all those explanations. Don't get scared or don't get worried. When you receive your results that you're a doubtful case, simply have yourself screened once more for COVID-19. You will either be tested positive or negative. Back to you, Esther Kima.
Thanks very much, Baldwin Sama, for the clarification on a second screening if your result is doubtful. On to other news, 30 Cameroonians and members of the National Center for Studies and Agricultural Mechanization have begun a 4-month training on mechanized and second-generation agriculture. The program was launched today by the Director General of the Center, Mebande Bate Ekoto Minkuna. Victor Siga has the details.
There are 30 beneficiaries of the first phase of the training. This falls in line with the National Development Program, which seeks to promote the mechanized agriculture.
CENEMA has a department of training, and that department of training has 2 sessions each year, 3 months of theoretical phase here in CENEMA at Colbison, and the practical one on the field.
For 4 months, these beneficiaries will be given a good mastery of this agricultural machinery with the aim of making them operational.
We have a lot of machines that are distributed by the government, but we don't have specialized and trained users. Training in agricultural machinery is not easy to have the specialized people. That's why, first of all, is to have trainers here in CENEMA.
The Director General of the Center wishes not only to improve farm productivity in Cameroon, but also assure the professional insertion of her trainees.
In sports, and as announced in one of our top stories, the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon are set for tomorrow's encounter against the Blue Sharks of Cape Verde. The game counts for Day 5 action of the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations. The 24 players selected had the reconnaissance training session today at the National Stadium in Praia. Simon Lyonga is on special assignment to Cape Verde and now reports.
It was a lone training session programmed for the Indomitable Lions on Cape Verdean soil and programmed at match time to enable the players and officials have first-hand contacts with the prevailing weather conditions out here. Though very windy, temperatures can rise to 35 degrees centigrade at match time, making it real difficult as the game will be played on an artificial turf. Despite this, the Indomitable Lions seem upbeat, sidelining their favorite outfit as well as that of the team with the first ticket into the 2021 AFCON as hosts.
We are very prepared, we know it's going to be a tough game, so mentally, physically, I think we are ready to play the game, and hopefully we go home with 3 points.
It's going to be a good game, open game, because they need a victory, and so I think it's going to be a good game. But we're here to go back home with 3 points, to give our best. It's not going to be an easy game, but I think if we give our best, we're going to have a victorious game tomorrow.
With Rwanda having won their group game against Mozambique, the road is therefore open for Cape Verde to move up the ladder and tussle for a group ticket. Enough to increase the pressure on the team, but the Lions see danger instead in the opponent's camp.
Instead of pressure, I'll call it like motivation. We came with a victory chain. We've had a lot of victories since we started with this coach, so we want to maintain that line of victory. So I think instead of being scared or something, we should be really motivated to play the game, and hopefully we go home with 3 points. The pressure is on them, not really on us. So we came here to play free, open-minded, and have our chances. And
this Friday's game will be played without spectators as a COVID-19 barrier measure, while Antonio Conceição has to await the results of the tests done Wednesday night before he makes known his first team for that game.
The President of the Republic has received the British Minister for Africa at the Foreign Office, James Doddridge. Bilateral relations and the supply of COVID-19 vaccines to Cameroon were the substance of their discussions in committees of the Bamenda-Babaju stretch, linking the Northwest and the West regions, can now heave a sigh of relief. The interruption in circulation due to damage caused by torrential rains has been restored. At 8:30 p.m., you'll be in the company of Aden Bala. Tomorrow, Benin Bumagana will be your weekend host. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to our programs on CRTV and on CRTV News. Stay protected from the coronavirus. Have a lovely weekend ahead.
I urge you once again to put on your face masks, to wash your hands regularly, and to consult a physician or any other health personnel if you notice any symptoms. This is the only way to save lives and to curb the spread of the virus.
CRTV News, ici, toute l'info.
Audio